Hello everybody, today is 16th of December. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. You might have heard about democratic socialism, the ideology that both private as well as public sector should go hand in hand. Such an ideology has been propagated and popularized by Tony Benn, the British parliamentarian. Guys, Tony Benn says all war represents a failure of diplomacy. And somewhat similar thing was also said by Adolf Hitler, who said, wherever the diplomacy ends, the war begins. So, guys, in the world countries, many a time wars are justified onto the name of democracy or onto the name of human rights. But those wars are nothing but a classic failure of state craftsmanship as well as of the diplomacy. So guys, this particular quote can be used into the questions related to the international relation in GS paper number 2 as well as in the topics of essay. Now guys, first of all, let's see the overview of the important articles that we will be discussing today. Guys, from past few days, the entire newspapers are filled with the farmer protest and ongoing issues into this particular direction. You clearly need to avoid such kind of articles and no need to read the multiple articles onto one topic only. So today also there are some relatively less number of news. Now, the first article has been taken from the Business Standard and it is talking about the WTO, which will miss the deadline for the sustainable fishing. Then guys, the similar article has been carried into the Mint also. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Mint and it is talking about the protectionism of India. Then guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it is talking about how the PM Bani could be a game changer. Then guys, this article is again taken from the Hindu newspaper and it is talking about the justice reforms. Then this article has been taken from the Hindu and it is talking about the Katsa which has been imposed onto the Turkey. Then guys, this particular article, it is talking about the slave cotton and we will see how we can use it into our exam. So guys, that's all about the important articles and now let's discuss them in detail. Now guys, taking up the first article, so this particular article has been taken from the Business Standard as well as from the Mint newspaper. And here we can see that the WTO's fishing talks might be failed this particular year. Now let's see that what it is all about. Now guys, this particular article is important for our GS paper number 3, the environment as well as the sustainable development. Now see, if we talk about particularly the fishery sector into the world, then the different countries, they are providing the enormous subsidies onto the fishing and into the range of 14 billion to 54 billion dollar subsidies being provided. Now guys, this particular thing has led to the over exploitation of the fishing stocks. And if we talk about 2020, 34% of fishing stocks are overexploited and compared it to the 10% in 1974. Now guys, at the same time, sustainable development goal number 14 talks about conserving the life below water. So therefore, such over exploitation is to be avoided. Now guys, into this particular direction for last 10 or more years, the WTO is keeping a kind of a deadline of 2020 that by this particular year, an agreement on prohibiting subsidies that threaten sustainability of global fishing, it will be passed. And into this particular direction, the countries need to take up a compulsory target that they will not be giving the subsidies. Now guys, WTO has said that they will not be able to fulfill this 2020 deadline because the countries such as China and India, they have asked for an exemption. Particularly China, it gives 21% of the global subsidies for the fishing, and it had said that nearly 1.4 billion people are dependent onto the fishery and they have to be supported. So therefore, China will not be able to take any kind of exemption. Similar thing is also with the India because we know that there is a huge fishermen community who are dependent from the government support into the form of subsidies. So for their welfare, the deadline cannot be taken up. So guys, this is all about this particular article and now let's take up the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Mint newspaper and here we can see certain datas which are indicating that India might be turning towards the protectionism. Now, guys, here this particular data can be very important for our GS paper number 3, where the trends of protectionism, deglobalization, etc., becomes very much relevant. Now, see, India had last year in 2019 refused that they will not be signing the RCEP, and this thing happened after more than 7 years of negotiation. Since then, the charges are being levied on India that India had turned a kind of a protectionist economy. Now, there are certain data also into this particular regard. See, we can have a look here that from 2004 to 2014, India signed nearly 11 PTAs, that is the preferential trade agreements. However, from 2015 to 2020, not even a single preferential trade agreement was signed. RCE was supposed to be the mega FTA, but it also failed. Now, guys, even in 2011 we can see, because this was the time such large number of FTAs was being signed, India's trade also peaked at 55.8% of GDP, and after that we did not sign the FTAs. You can see in 2019 India's trade was only 40% of the GDP. So a correlation can be seen that when more FTAs are signed, India's trade increases. Then, guys, see, it has been also said that after 2014, India has successively revised the tariffs, and since 2014, tariffs have been raised on more than 3,200 items, and average tariff is now 18%, which used to be 13%. So all these particular data are indicating that India might be going towards the protectionist regime. However, guys, there could be certain arguments which can be given into this particular direction that India is still not a protectionist nation. Now, the reason is this, that particularly after 2014, the trend, opposite trend can be seen, because number one, the countries were not able to emerge out of the global financial crisis which happened into the USA around 2009 and 10, and the marks were very much visible. So therefore, India had to turn towards protecting our domestic industries. Secondly, guys, it has been seen that the protectionism or inward lookingness is not a kind of an attitude which is prevalent only into the India. Rather, the entire world is looking towards a kind of an inwardliness out attitude. So this is not something very much different. Moreover, guys, specifically into the past few years, India had focused onto the make in India, and our domestic manufacturers need some kind of protection. So therefore, the tariff increase has to be taken place. Moreover, guys, when we talk specifically about the RCP, earlier we have taken a number of articles when the RCEP kick started. So into that direction also many justifications are there. So that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that it has been said that government's recent initiative of PM Vani will be a game changer for India. Now, guys, first of all, PM Vani we have already discussed on to the 10th of December newspaper analysis. So it is nothing but a government scheme to have the public Wi-Fi network. Under it, the public data offices or the PDOs will be established. They could be any grocery shop, could be any tea stall or such kind of establishment. They will be maintaining the Wi-Fi network. After that, guys, there will be the public data office aggregators. These will be the kind of units will be purchasing the internet bandwidth from the internet service provider and will be decentralizing it to the PDOs. After that, there will be the app developers who will be developing the interface for this entire internet, and then there will be the central registry. Now, guys, it has been said that by this particular thing, a very important breakthrough will be coming into India. See, let's see some of the important stats which you can use into your answers. Guys, recently Niti Aayog had said that India can achieve the 1 trillion economic value by 2025, and this particular value can only become possible if India adopts the internet technologies into a suitable spirit. After that, guys, next report has been given by the TRI, which says that only 54% of the rural population they have the accessibility to the internet. Then, guys, there is one more survey, that is the 75th NSO survey, and it says that only 20% people have the ability to use the internet properly. Now see what these data are indicating. It is simply indicating that the internet divide in India is very stark. And see, now into the times of pandemic, as most of the things have turned onto the online mechanism, take it the education, commerce, and all such thing, internet penetration has to increase. Now guys, let's see into the wake of the governance also. Now governance is also turning onto the internet. Guys, government had announced the Umang app on which 2084 services via 194 departments are being provided. So basically the internet is not a kind of a luxury, rather for accessing the government also internet is needed. And now guys, the people who will not be having the internet, they will not be able to access the government services, and a new form of poverty, that is the digital poverty, will be plaguing to them. So therefore we have to connect the people to the internet, and into this particular direction the PM Vani, it is a excellent concept, and it has also been called as the decentralized concept of bridging the e-divide. Please use this particular expression into your answers. Now guys, it has actually been said that the PM Vani can also fulfill many of the unfulfilled agendas. For example, government had missed the BharatNet many a times, and that particular thing can be bridged by the PM Vani. Then guys, there are actually the concerns also into this particular direction, that is the security and the privacy of the individuals. Now according to one of the report, it has been said that into the US, Germany, Australia, and India, two-thirds of the people who have used the internet onto the airport, they have leaked their private information, and this particular information can be abused laterwards. Moreover, guys, India is also not having up till now the specific policies onto the protection of the personal data and the non-personal data. Personal data contains your sensitive information, however, non-personal data is one which contains the weather, trend, traffic movement, etc. Particularly not the specific information to any one individual. Moreover, guys, when we are talking about the non-personal data, it has been said that it can be used for the community interest, and therefore such data needs to be stored locally. Now again, the safety of such data, how it will be handled, that particular thing is not clear. So guys, the PM Vani is a good thing, but at the same time privacy concerns such as the personal data, non-personal data, all these things also need to be addressed properly. So that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the need of the judicial reforms into the India. Now judiciary has been called as the most important organ of the state, as it actually preserves the dignity of the human beings. Now traditionally when we are talking about the judicial reforms, we focus on two things, that is the salary of the judges as well as increasing the court infrastructure. But guys, there are many other aspects also of the judiciary which are needed to be taken in attention. Now, India's intentions in providing the justice to the people has always been good, and this particular thing we can actually see by the Legal Service Authority Act of 1987, which guarantees the free legal aid to the women irrespective of their financial status, to the children, to the members of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. But actually, in reality, it has turned to be a dead letter, because no support has been given by the government onto the financial fronts, and into the reality the legal support as well as the advocates that are offered, they are often ill funded. Now guys, let's take this particular thing in comparison with the UK. So there, a state funding is provided to the various independent solicitors who help the people who need the legal assistance. After that, guys, if we see the judge to population ratio, then it is also very much problematic in India. In US, over 1 million people, 100 judges are there, whereas into the Canada there are 75 judges into the 1 million people. Now, when we compare it to the India, only 19 judges per million are there. And even such low number is plagued by the vacancies. Nearly 25% vacancies are persistently there into the judiciary, and many a times the appeals have been made into this particular respect. Guys, even into the All India Judges Association versus Union of India case 2001, it was provided that at least 50 judges per million needs to be there into India within the next 5 years period. But that deadline has passed since last last 14 years, but nothing has been done into this particular direction. Even guys, into the Anita Kushwaha versus Pushpa Sadan 2016 judgment, it was held by the Supreme Court that the right to life has been provided under the constitution as a fundamental right, but it does not only means the physical life but the bundle of rights which have to be provided so that a kind of a dignified life can be given. And onto that particular basis, access of justice will only be increasing the quality of human life, and therefore the Supreme Court said that the access to justice is a kind of a fundamental right for the people. And into that particular direction, it also called that the justice means that there needs to be the adjudicatory mechanisms, then there needs to be, they needs to be conveniently accessible, they needs to provide speedy justice as well as affordable justice. But the irony is that even after the clear direction, no national policy have been framed by the government up till now, that how government is intending to clear the backlog of such large number of cases, and how the appropriate attention will be given so that all these four principles of effective justice can be fulfilled. So guys, this is all into this particular direction. We can utilize it in our GS paper number 2. Please keep it in your mind. Thank you so much. Now, guys, this particular article pertains to the recent decision by the US where they have imposed the sanctions onto the Turkey under their Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanction Act, that is the CAATSA Act. Now, guys, before going into this particular article, let's see some background into this particular detail. See, US believes that there are certain countries which are not working into the best of the best public interest, and these countries are the Iran, North Korea, and Russia. Now, basically, Russia's intrusion into the Ukraine has been believed to be the aggressionist. Therefore, Russia is not a country which is working into the public interest. Then, guys, North Korea, on account of their military dictatorship and because of the non-abidance to the democratic values of the welfarism as well as the heavy-handedness, has led North Korea also to be a state which is not being governed under the best of the best interest. Similarly, guys, the Iran had not provided the complete accessibility to the US with respect to the uranium enrichment that it is carrying, and many times Iran has also been accused that it propagates a kind of a Islamic fundamentalism. So therefore, these three countries are believed to be the adversaries to the America's interest, and America had imposed various degrees of sanctions onto these countries, and America believes that even the countries who will be dealing with them, they will also invite the sanctions from the America. Now, guys, into this particular news, the Turkey has been concerned. So what Turkey has done, Turkey had take up an agreement with the Russia for the purchase of S-400 Triumph missile defense system. Now, guys, S-400, it is the modern long range surface to air missile, and basically it is very much advanced than the defense system of America, that is the THAAD, which stands for the terminal high altitude area defense system. And guys, actually the US is very much intimidated by the rival S-400. Now, as the Turkey is buying S-400 from the Russia, US had believed that the Turkey is not working into the best of the interest of the US, and earlier the US had said, warned the Turkey that they will, if they go forward with this particular deal, they will impose the CAATSA onto Turkey. But now finally it has been imposed because Turkey had not dated this particular deal. Now, you don't need to go into the nitty-gritties of this particular agreement. However, when we are talking about S-400, India had also decided to carry the procurement of S-400 from the Russia. And earlier there was the concerns on to the India's part also that India will also be charged under the CAATSA. But US had given India a waiver from the CAATSA and India can procure it. Now, what could be the reasons into this particular regard? Reason number one, the India and US ties have become very much important into the last few years, and US believes India to be a strategic partner, so therefore the exemption has been given. Secondly guys, not only the strategic partner but also US had designated India as the major defense partner because of the huge procurement of the weaponry that India is carrying from the US. After that guys, next convergence ground between the US and India has been found into the Pacific, particularly the Indo-Pacific region, and this particular thing is very much evident from the Quad. So into this particular direction, to maintain a cooperative arrangement, the exemption has been given. Fourthly guys, the economic ties between the India and US are also very much strong, and would be due to preserving that particular front, in the US has given the kind of a waiver to India. And finally guys, India is a kind of a response of the US into the Asia against the Chinese rise. Therefore on to this particular front also, a kind of an exemption has been given. So guys, this is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article talks about the slave labor or the slave cotton. So basically we have earlier also taken up this particular article. Guys, there is a particular community that are called as the Uyghur Muslims, who are living into the Xinjiang region of the China. And into this particular region, it has been said that the China is carrying up the coercive labor or the slave labor, and by that slave labor the cotton plantations are being raised. Now guys, into this particular direction, a new report has been published by the think tank known as the Center for Global Policy. Now apart from this, you don't need to go exactly into this particular article, but let's see that what could be the important message from it for our exam. Now guys, the Xinjiang region, it accounts for 20% of the world cotton, and into the USA again the 20% of the cotton is coming from the Xinjiang region, and various global brands such as the Nike, Gap, Adidas, they are procuring their cotton from the China, and majority of that particular cotton is again coming from the Xinjiang region. Now, the region is employing the forced labor, which is a kind of an abuse of the human rights. So, therefore, number one, a kind of a responsibility falls onto these particular corporates that they show a kind of a zero tolerance to this particular thing and should bypass the cotton coming from the Xinjiang. Now, this is a kind of a practice that becomes very much evident as a part of the good and ethical corporate governance. So, therefore, into the GS paper number 4, such abuse which is happening and still companies relying on to that particular region for their raw material shows a kind of a flaw into the ethical conduct. Guys, we can utilize this particular thing as a reference in your GS paper number 4. So guys, that's all about the important articles for the today. I hope that you have liked it. Thank you so much.